CSIR-CDRI is a first pharmacy of India and glorious in its contribution to nation development. CDRI has several drugs in its name. Dedicated to the nation on 17 February 1951, Institute revolutionized the Indian pharma sector with 13 new drugs, more than 80 process technologies, 100 of consultancies, more than 1500 PhDs, and more than 8,000 highly skilled trainings, and immense new knowledge generation on disease biology relevant to India through more than 10,000 research publications. Human resource is a vital to assist any society, organization, and nation development to reach an excellent socio-economic status. However, population explosion is deterrent factors to any society and a nation development, leading to wars and chaos to the socio-economic level. It leads to sinkhole-like situation where the resources are never met. India stands second in world's population index. We need a check on our population by good education and contraception. Indian population prefers oral contraceptive as per the National Family Health Survey 2019 to 2021. CDRI developed Centchroman Ormeloxifene, a oral contraceptive for women.
Centchroman is one of the most important discovery in the field of drug discovery and drug development of this country. CDRI discovered Centchroman more than 30 years ago, which is the first non-steroidal contraceptive. Over the 30 years, it is being consumed by Indian women, and it is the part of Govt of India family planning program.
The journey of the Centchroman begins in 1967 and team led by then CDRI Director Padma Shri Dr. Nityanad.
In 1958 में WHO had started thinking about family planning, and they had called a meeting in which CDRI के representative Dr. A.B. He was very senior endocrinologist. He was invited, he was there. And the WHO meeting recommended to the Government of India that you must take more deeper interest in contraceptive development. This goes back to 1958. So WHO in turn wrote to the Government of India, and Ministry of Health, Government of India wrote to CDRI. So we at once agreed, said yes, and we started working on it. That only one class of compounds into account, primarily the known estrogen, and made anti-fertility agent, the estrogenic compounds, which were steroidal. Their side effects were very marked. So they affected the MER25 of Lerner, provided us the beginning of the story of contraceptives. When we looked at this compound, it was a triphenyl ethylene or triphenyl ethane, and that gave a very good platform to work on and make heterosexual compounds based on this triphenyl ethylene compound. So that gave us space to build on that structure of William Lerner, and that because basically it had the activity which you were looking for, weak estrogenic, weak anti-estrogenic, and the biological activity of the contraceptive. So in that vacant space, we started making a heterocyclic molecule. So first we made a few around there. The first compound we made by 1962-63 was the triphenyl furans. surprisingly, we are very lucky, showed good anti-fertility activity. We were also very fortunate that we had excellent biological laboratories where all this testing was done by our own people. And there was a lot of collaboration between them and a lot of work together with them. So the compounds were tested and found that these compounds had the required anti-fertility activity, which we had first made, showed some toxicity in the liver. We did not want to compromise, we went on to other compounds. We first made Bifuran, then Naphthofuran, then Pansifluran, Tetrahydrofuran, then the corresponding indoles, Coumarin was made, so we went on to the corresponding Chromin and Chroman. Gradually, we went on to finally to Chromin, and we could find out why Chromin and Coumarin did not have that activity for which we had made the Chroman. But in Chroman also, at a very crucial point, we had introduced, so we made the dimethyl compound in the heterocyclic of Chroman, and it was our compound that we made. And having made that compound, we first got it tested in our own laboratories, and luckily we had laboratory facilities of animal facility very well made. It was not tested only in one group of animals, but we tested in different groups of animals. It was rats and mice, then it was guinea pigs and rabbits, then we also tested in dogs, and the monkeys were just coming up.
Centchroman or Ormeloxifene was 20th compound synthesized in the year 1967. So initially it was named as 67 by 20. So it came to endocrinology at VN for its efficacy as a post-coital contraceptive. It was found to be effective when given on day 1 of pregnancy, post-coital, after the coital act, not pregnancy, after the coital act on day 1, was effective when given day 1 or day 2 or 3 after coitus.
First anti-implantation agent approved for its clinical use in the world. It competes with estrogen for estrogen receptor sites in the uterus, so it disrupts the nidation of fertilized ovum in the uterus, and that's why prevents pregnancy. The anti-estrogenic action of this molecule is mediated via estrogen receptor subtype alpha and ERE estrogen response element interaction in the target cells, where it acts by modulating the recruitment of steroid receptor coactivator 1 via induction of microRNA 140 and via downregulation of its target molecule, that is insulin-like growth factor 1 receptor in the endometrial cells, and subsequently it leads to the suppression of various molecules like integrin beta 3 and FAC1 in the uterus, which leads to the prevention of implantation or endometrial receptivity.
It showed weak estrogenic activity by its uterotrophic activity and had anti-estrogenic activity, and because of anti-estrogenic activity it also exhibited anti-progesterone activity. It was devoid of any other activity, that means endocrinologically inert, was pharmacologically inert because there was no pharmacological activity. Maybe it was showing its activity of anti-implantation because of anti-inflammatory activity also. In the beginning, it was found to act at the uterine level by producing asynchrony between egg development and uterine preparation for nidation. So it was identified for development. First, it was seen that the acute toxicity studies were done and the therapeutic ratio was more than 2000. So it was considered to be worth taking for further development. Then a pilot toxicity was done
it was found to be safe in pilot toxicity studies. Then the clinical development was undertaken, phase 1 clinical trial, that is the safety in human. 6 times the contraceptive dose of 60 mg, which was translated from rats and dogs to human, finding it safe in phase 1 clinical trials, that is the safety studies in human, normal human being. It was done in both men and women, also finding safe in single dose. Multiple dose studies were undertaken at 60 mg and 120 mg, that is double the dose, which is the clinical dose is 60 mg, so double the dose we took the safety studies, and it was found that it had no effect on any of the systems of the body. Phase 2 clinical trials were undertaken, that is the first dose ranging studies in human. First was a postcoital contraceptive. It was effective at 60 mg dose as a postcoital contraceptive. That means given after the coital act. People started taking it after every coital act. It has number of coital acts in a day, so they were taking the tablet at that time. So because of its duration of action, it was seen that it is present in the body for about 7 days. So we started 120 mg weekly and came down to 15 mg weekly. At 15 mg it was ineffective. So 30 mg was thought to be the ideal dose. So we conducted 30 mg trial in ladies for contraception, and it was decided to give it twice a week. Initially once a week. It was decided that ladies should take it after the menses so that to ensure they are not pregnant. So then it was decided that initially for titration of the dose and to achieve vital levels of the Centchroman in the blood, it should be taken twice a week. So it was given 3 months weekly, and after 3 months it was again shifted to once a week for as long as contraception is desired. The only side effect by which the dose were titrated down and down was delay in menstrual periods in about 8% of the cycles. We had covered in all the doses by that time around about 25,000 cases, and most of the cases were more than 6 months of use. Normally 85% of the ladies become pregnant within the first year if no contraception is taken at all. And with that, then the permission was taken to market this compound by the Drugs Control General of India. He gave the permission in 1989, and the pill was in the market in the year 1990. Product done initially, it was marketed under the trade name Saheli. The Government of India introduced it under the trade name Chhaya in 2016. Initially, it was under the support program of the Government of India, but from 2016 onwards, it is freely distributed in the family welfare centers all over the country. A contraceptive takes a very long time because dose titration takes a longer time.
Once a week pill, which is known as Chhaya or Centchroman, and it has been gaining its popularity now, and it is being accepted by our population and by our ladies. Our Government of India is promoting this molecule in the name of Chhaya, and Chhaya, as you can see, this comes in this level, and it has got imprint in the Hindi as well as in English. So anybody who is literate either in English or Hindi can see it and can have benefit of this contraceptive method. Couple who is wanting it as a spacing method between the two children can be started in the interval period, and it can be started just after abortion, and also when the relations, it can be started anytime, preferably just after menstruation it can be started, or just after abortion it can be started, or just after delivery it can be started. That is the standard
time to start.
अच्छा, और साथ ही सबसे अच्छी बात ये देखिए, जो हम महिलाओं को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं फ्री, सरकारी तौर पे मुफ्त में दी जाती है, और साथ में ये जो पैम्फलेट है इसके द्वारा उनको जानकारी भी दी जाती है। इसमें देखिए कितना अच्छा दिया हुआ है, मार्केट में सहेली के नाम से भी उपलब्ध है। और इसकी जो टैबलेट होती है वो 30 मिलीग्राम की आती है। शुरुआत के 3 महीने में आप उसको हफ्ते में 2 बार देंगे, और उसके बाद हफ्ते में 1 दिन के वो कंटिन्यू करेगी, जितना भी लंबा पीरियड तक वो चाहे तो ले सकती है।
Chhaya is freely available at community health center as well.
हम लोग छाया प्रेफर करते हैं और पेशेंट लेती भी है, काफ़ी पेशेंट आते हैं उसके।
इस गोली का सेवन हफ्ते में 2 बार, पहले 3 महीने में, और उसके बाद हफ्ते में 1 बार किया जाता है। जब तक महिला गर्भ धारण ना करना चाहे तब तक इसका सेवन किया जाता है।
Being non-steroidal, Chhaya has several advantages over contraception.
Around 60 to 70% ladies, they are anemic. So if they opt for this method, the blood flow during menstruation is reduced, so there will be hemoglobin buildup, and this anemia status can be corrected. So this is a good method for those ladies also.
बहुत ही अच्छा स्पेशली उन महिलाओं के लिए जिनमें हार्मोनल ओरल पिल्स या कंट्रासेप्टिव्स नहीं दिए जा सकते हैं, उसके लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है।
गर्भ निरोधक के अलावा इस गोली का सेवन जिन महिलाओं में माहवारी की दिक्कतें होती हैं उनमें भी किया जाता है। इसलिए आमतौर पर जो महिलाएं इसका सेवन करती हैं उनको प्रॉब्लम्स कम रहती हैं, उन्हें बार बार हॉस्पिटल आने की आमतौर पे ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है।
आज के दिन नेशनल फैमिली प्लानिंग प्रोग्राम में बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं फैमिली प्लानिंग के लिए, जिसमें एक ऑप्शन है ओरल पिल का, जिसे हम छाया कहते हैं। हम लोग इस दवा को केवल कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन के लिए नहीं इस्तेमाल करना चाहते हैं, हम लोग इसको पोस्टपार्टम, जब नया न्यूबॉर्न बेबी होता है उसके लिए भी हम लोग इस संस्थान में इसको स्टडी कर रहे हैं पोस्टपार्टम पीरियड में। साथ ही साथ इसके अपने एडवांटेजेस हैं, और स्पेशली ये एडवांटेजेस पोस्टपार्टम पीरियड में बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त होंगे, क्योंकि ये हड्डियों को मजबूत करती है। और पोस्टपार्टम पीरियड में जहाँ माँ अपने शिशु को अपना दूध पिलाती है तो कैल्शियम और विटामिन D3 की डेफिशिएंसी होती है, तो उसमें छाया का एक अपना ही फ़ायदा होगा कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन के साथ। ड्यूरिंग हॉस्पिटल इमीडिएट पोस्टपार्टम पीरियड में शुरू किया जा सकता है, क्योंकि इसको देखा गया है कि ब्रेस्ट मिल्क में छाया आता है स्मॉल अमाउंट्स में, इसका कोई साइड इफ़ेक्ट नहीं होता है।
इस गोली को आमतौर पे काउंसलर द्वारा फैमिली प्लानिंग आउटलेट्स में, जैसे कि हमारे अस्पताल में भी है, वहाँ पे आफ्टर काउंसलिंग जो कि डॉक्टर्स द्वारा की जाती है, उसके बाद इसका सेवन करने के लिए दिया जाता है।
हम यहाँ पर आई हुई महिलाओं को परिवार नियोजन संबंधी जानकारी देते हैं। जो भी हमारे ओपीडी में महिलाएं आती हैं एएनसी या फिर परिवार नियोजन के रूप में जानकारी लेने के लिए, उनके संपर्क में हम आते हैं, और परिवार नियोजन में हम उन्हें एएनसी के दौरान से ही परिवार नियोजन के लिए काउंसिल करते हैं। इसमें उनकी सहायता करने के लिए हम फैमिली प्लानिंग का चॉइस ऑफ बास्केट उनके सामने रखते हैं। हम हॉस्पिटल में अपने आउटडोर और इनडोर हर तरीके की काउंसलिंग करते हैं। प्रसव से पहले ओपीडी में काउंसिल करते हैं, इसके बाद प्रसव के बाद हम बेड टू बेड जा करके वार्ड में भी काउंसिल करते हैं। टेम्परेरी मेथड में हम उन्हें कॉपर टी, छाया, सेंचक्रोमन, माला एंड कॉन्डोम, अंतरा इंजेक्शन के संबंध में विस्तृत जानकारी देते हैं। हमारे पास में हमारी एक क्लाइंट हैं सोनम जी, हम इनके संपर्क में काफ़ी दिनों से हैं, जब ये एएनसी के टाइम से यहाँ आया करती थी।
जी मेरा नाम सोनम दीदी ने बता ही दिया है, और मैं जब मेरे पेट में बच्चा था तभी से मैं यहाँ आ रही हूँ, और तभी मैं दीदी से मिली और इन्होंने मुझे सारे मेथड बताए, तो मुझे साथ ज़्यादा बेटर यही लगा। ठीक है।
ठीक है। और बाबू कैसा है?
बढ़िया है।
ठीक है। तो आप क्या ले रही हो तुम?
छाया ही ले रहे हैं।
कोई परेशानी उससे तुम्हें?
शुरू में थोड़ा सा ब्लीडिंग कम हुआ था, उसके बाद से
अच्छा। फिर जब हमने समझाया, मैडम ने समझाया, तो आराम है तुम्हें?
उसके बाद से आराम।
अभी तो कोई दिक्कत बीच में नहीं आती है?
नहीं।
बच्चे को दूध पिलाने में और माहवारी से भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है?
कोई दिक्कत नहीं। और
ठीक है,
हम खुद भी मतलब यूज करना है, दूसरों को भी मतलब यही बताते हैं।
हाँ, बहुत
ये
अच्छा
सबसे बेटर यही है।
और जो तुम्हें कमजोरी वगैरह लग रही थी कि मैडम खून की कमी है, ये है या पैर दर्द है, मतलब तुम्हें अच्छा लगा छाया टैबलेट, है ना? तो तुम अपने जानने वालों को भी ये बताती हो?
बताते हैं।
ये पेरिफेरी में भी अवेलेबल है। आशा आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स जो कि पेरिफेरी में काम करती हैं वो भी ये गोली उपलब्ध करा सकती हैं।
मेरा परिक्षेत्र बीबीपुर, बिंधौरा, चक बीबीपुर और रैदासपुरवा है, जिसमें मैं कार्य कर रही हूँ। और मैं महिला मंडल की बैठक करती हूँ, तो आंगनबाड़ी और आशा दोनों सब लोग मिलकर के बराबर टीकाकरण कराते हैं और इस गोली के विषय में लोगों को परामर्श देते हैं कि ये बहुत अच्छी गोली है, इसका इस्तेमाल कीजिए, इसके इस्तेमाल करने से कोई भी साइड इफ़ेक्ट नहीं होगा। अन्य महिलाओं को बताया करती हूँ और कई महिलाएं मेरी इस गोली का इस्तेमाल भी कर रही हैं, जिसकी मुझे कोई भी शिकायत नहीं है। औरतें बहुत अच्छा इसको प्रयोग कर रही हैं और इसकी प्रशंसा भी करती हैं कि गोली बहुत अच्छी है।
आशा कार्य करती हूँ। मेरा क्षेत्र दौलतपुर और घासीराम दौलतपुर बलसिंहपुर है। मैं 2006 से काम कर रही हूँ, ये दवा दे रही हूँ। मेरे जो भी लाभार्थी हैं उनसे कोई शिकायत नहीं मिली कि हमें नुकसान करती है, कोई दिक्कत है, कोई साइड इफेक्ट है।
मैं परिवार नियोजन छाया गोली को महिलाओं के बारे में बताती हूँ। हमारे 8 लाभार्थी हैं जो इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, उनमें साइड इफ़ेक्ट कोई भी नहीं है।
The lady who are having polycystic ovarian disease or ovarian neoplasm, the history of previous ovarian tumors or ovarian surgeries should avoid it.
ये जो है इसमें हमने अपने यहाँ सेटअप में स्टडी कराई है। स्टडी में देखा है कि इसका एक्सेप्टेंस रेट बहुत अच्छा है। जो मेंस्ट्रुअल इरेगुलरिटी हो रही है उसको थोड़ा सा हमें काउंसिल करना पड़ता है, महिला को अच्छे से समझाना पड़ता है।
Ormeloxifene, सहेली और छाया, it's devoid of all the side effects that a steroid can have. I think we should all join in our hands together for spreading a word that CSIR-CDRI has it's the only non-steroidal drug that is there in the market, and more women should use it so that it is not only for their healthy lifestyle, they will live healthy, but it is also for the betterment of the next generation.